There are counties in America where zoning died quietly in a filing cabinet sometime in the 1970s, and nobody bothered to resurrect it. No maps dividing your land into color-coded categories that sound like paint samples. No planning board meetings where someone named Gerald decides whether your chicken coop violates the rural residential character of a place where the nearest neighbor is a mile away. No zoning officer driving past your property wondering if your workshop is commercially non-compliant or just aggressively well-organized. Just land. And the radical, increasingly rare idea that you can decide what to do with it. These counties exist. 9 of them, scattered across America like forgotten loopholes in the system. And most people have no idea they're still out there. Before we dive into the map of places where zoning forgot to show up for work, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Not because I need the validation, I'm held together by caffeine and spite at this point, but because every time you do, a planning commission somewhere has to reconsider whether their 47-page zoning ordinance was really necessary. And honestly, that feels like community service. Let's start with something important. A disclaimer that will save you from driving 6 hours to the wrong county office only to discover I was talking about something slightly different than what you thought. I'm talking about county-level zoning, specifically in unincorporated areas, the parts of the county that aren't inside city or town limits. Incorporated cities and towns inside these counties may still have their own zoning rules, building codes, and a planning department staffed by people who take their clipboards very seriously. So if you buy land inside city limits, you're still playing by city rules. But outside those boundaries, in the unincorporated county land, the rules change, or in these 9 cases, largely disappear. Now, let's begin the journey. Lawrence County, Missouri, is what happens when a county government looks at the entire concept of zoning and says, "Nah, we're good." This is southeastern Missouri, rolling hills, timber, small towns that feel like they were built before anyone invented the word regulation and simply decided not to update. The county itself states it has no zoning restrictions. It also states it has no building codes. And it states that no building permits are required by the county in unincorporated parts. Let that settle for a second. No zoning, no building codes, no permits. This is exceptionally rare. Most counties have at least one of those 3. Lawrence County has none of them. It's the kind of freedom that makes people from coastal states check the website 3 times because surely there's a catch. There isn't. The county just never adopted any of it. You can buy land here and build a cabin, a barn dominium, a tiny home, a structure made entirely of reclaimed shipping pallets and optimism, and the county will not send anyone to inspect it. There's no zoning map assigning your property a category. No code enforcement officer comparing your roof pitch to a manual written in 1987. No planning board asking if your design fits the neighborhood aesthetic, when the neighborhood consists of 3 cows and a very judgmental rooster. Of course, this doesn't mean absolute chaos. There are still state and federal rules. Septic systems have requirements. Wells have regulations. If you're building near a floodplain, FEMA might have opinions. And if you're doing something that genuinely threatens public safety, someone will eventually notice. But for the most part, Lawrence County operates on a simple principle. If you own the land, you decide what happens on it. The county isn't interested in micromanaging your dream cabin or your questionable architectural experiments. It's too busy not having a planning department. This is the cleanest, purest example of no zoning freedom left in America, and it sits quietly in the Missouri Ozarks, minding its own business, while the rest of the country argues about setback requirements. Next, we head south, to Alabama, where the concept of county zoning exists in theory, but conveniently forgets to show up outside city limits. Mobile County, Alabama is a place where freedom lives in the margins, literally. Inside the incorporated cities, zoning exists. Mobile itself has zoning, the smaller towns have zoning, but step outside those municipal boundaries into the unincorporated parts of the county, and the rules evaporate like morning fog over the Gulf Coast. The county states clearly, there is no zoning in unincorporated areas of Mobile County. This creates pockets of land, sometimes just a few miles from the city, where the planning map stops applying and you're left to your own devices. It's a strange kind of freedom. You can drive through a neighborhood with strict residential zoning, cross an invisible line into unincorporated county land, and suddenly find yourself in a place where someone parked an RV next to a metal shop, next to a small farm, next to a house that looks like it was designed by someone who watched too many tiny home videos and not enough structural engineering tutorials. Mobile County doesn't care. As long as you're outside city limits, land use is your business. The county won't zone it, won't restrict it, won't hold meetings about it. Of course, this doesn't mean the county has zero regulations. There are still rules about septic systems, environmental protections, and other infrastructure concerns. But zoning, the practice of telling you whether your land is residential, commercial, agricultural, or some bureaucratic hybrid category that requires a translator, doesn't exist out here. This is Alabama doing what Alabama does best, leaving you alone, unless you're actively causing a problem. And for people who want space without supervision, these unincorporated pockets are exactly what they're looking for. Now we move east to Georgia, where the absence of zoning comes with a footnote. Washington County, Georgia sits in the middle of the state like a quiet reminder that not everywhere adopted the modern obsession with categorizing dirt. The county states clearly, there are no zoning regulations in unincorporated areas. But, and this is important, the county also notes there are building-related regulations tied to flood zones and waterways. So while you won't find a zoning map telling you whether your land is R1 residential or AG3 agricultural transitional, you will find rules designed to keep people from building directly in a floodplain or next to a protected stream without understanding what they're doing. This is the kind of distinction people miss when they hear no zoning and assume it means total absence of rules. It doesn't. It means the county hasn't divided land into zoning categories, but safety regulations, environmental protections, and basic infrastructure requirements still exist. You can't just build a house in a wetland and claim freedom as your defense. Washington County's approach is practical. The county doesn't want to micromanage what you build or where you build it. But it also doesn't want to deal with the aftermath of someone ignoring flood maps and then wondering why their dream cabin floated away during a storm. So the freedom here is real. You can build on your land without navigating a zoning ordinance written by a committee that met monthly for 3 years and still couldn't agree on what residential character means. But you still need to respect the basics: flood zones, septic requirements, and common sense. It's freedom with a footnote, and honestly, that's reasonable. Next, we head west to Montana, where the zoning regulations are so absent they might as well be theoretical. Sanders County, Montana, is what happens when a county looks at its vast stretches of timber, mountains, and open land and decides planning regulations are optional. Official county staff reports state clearly, there are no adopted zoning regulations in unincorporated areas. This is rural Montana, big sky, bigger silence, the kind of place where your nearest neighbor might be 10 miles away, and your nearest planning board is conceptual at best. The county simply never adopted zoning. It didn't forget. It didn't lose the paperwork. It just never did it. For people who want privacy, space, and the ability to build without oversight, Sanders County is quietly ideal. You can buy land here, place a cabin, install solar panels, drill a well, and live off-grid without anyone from the county office driving out to inspect whether your roof slope meets subsection 14B of a code that doesn't exist. Of course, there are still rules. Subdivision regulations exist to prevent people from carving up large parcels into unusable fragments. Health regulations govern septic systems. Environmental rules protect waterways. But zoning, the practice of dividing land into categories and restricting use based on those categories, isn't part of the equation. Sanders County trusts you to handle your own land, and in return, it expects you to not do anything catastrophically stupid. It's a fair trade. Now we make an unusual turn. East, to Pennsylvania, where the absence of county-wide zoning creates a patchwork of freedom that varies by location. Wyoming County. Pennsylvania is the kind of place most people don't associate with zoning freedom. Pennsylvania has regulations, it has processes, it has planning boards that take their jobs seriously. But Wyoming County itself states clearly, there is no county-wide zoning. This is important. It doesn't mean the entire county is a zoning-free paradise. It means zoning decisions are made at the municipal or township level. Some townships have zoning, some don't. Some have building codes. Some operate on a handshake and a prayer. It varies town by town, municipality by municipality. So the freedom here is localized. If you buy land in an unincorporated part of a township that never adopted zoning, you're free. If you buy land in a township that has a 50-page zoning ordinance and a planning board that meets quarterly, you're not. Wyoming County's approach is a reminder that zoning freedom often exists in the gaps, between cities, between townships, in the places where local government simply decided not to implement the same level of control as neighboring areas. It's rare for the Northeast. Pennsylvania is a state where planning and zoning are taken seriously in most places. But Wyoming County proves there are still exceptions. Small pockets, quiet gaps in the system where freedom survived because nobody bothered to regulate it out of existence. Next, we head back south, to Arkansas, where county-level zoning exists as a concept but doesn't exist in practice. Benton County, Arkansas sits in the northwest corner of the state, surrounded by Walmart's corporate empire, growing suburbs, and the kind of development pressure that usually leads to aggressive zoning regulations. And yet, the county's own FAQ states clearly, in unincorporated Benton County, there is currently no zoning. This is unusual. Benton County is not rural Montana or forgotten Missouri. It's growing, it's developing, and yet, outside city limits, the county hasn't implemented zoning. You can still buy land in the unincorporated areas and build without navigating a zoning ordinance. That said, the county is careful to note that business or development activities can still trigger county processes. Building permits may be required depending on the project. Environmental rules still apply. And if you're planning something commercial or industrial, the county may have opinions. So this isn't total freedom. It's freedom with an asterisk. But for residential use, for someone who wants to build a home, place a cabin, or live quietly on their own land, the absence of zoning makes Benton County surprisingly accessible. You won't find a zoning map telling you your land is R2 residential or AG1 agricultural. The county just didn't create one. It's a reminder that even in growing areas, zoning isn't inevitable. Some counties simply never adopted it. And for people who value flexibility over regulation, those counties are worth finding. Now we head deeper south, to Mississippi, where the quiet absence of zoning sits calmly in a state most people don't associate with planning freedom. Stone County, Mississippi has an official county PDF that states clearly, there is no zoning in unincorporated areas, no land use zoning, no zoning map. No planning board meetings where someone decides whether your property is residential, commercial, or agricultural. But the same PDF notes that county board approval may be required for certain commercial or industrial uses. So while residential land use is largely unregulated, if you're planning to open a factory or a commercial operation, the county may want to have a conversation. This is practical. Stone County isn't trying to control what you do with your land on a day-to-day basis. It's not interested in inspecting your cabin or measuring your setbacks. But it also doesn't want a surprise industrial facility appearing in the middle of a quiet rural area without any notice. So there's a process for larger-scale activities. For most people who want to buy land, build a home, and live quietly, Stone County's lack of zoning is functionally total. You can build without navigating a zoning ordinance. You can place a manufactured home, a cabin, or a custom structure without worrying about whether it fits a pre-assigned category. It's quiet freedom in a state that doesn't advertise it, and that's exactly why it still exists. Next, we head to Texas, where the relationship between counties and zoning is famously simple. Counties don't do it. Williamson County, Texas has an FAQ page that states the situation clearly. There are no zoning regulations in Williamson County. Inside city limits, follow city zoning. Outside city limits, the county has no authority to zone for land use. This is Texas being Texas. The state doesn't grant counties the power to implement zoning. Cities can zone, counties can't. So if you're outside city limits in Williamson County, or most Texas counties for that matter, there's no zoning map, no land use restrictions, no planning board deciding what your property is allowed to be. Williamson County is just north of Austin, which means it's not rural, isolated, or forgotten. It's growing rapidly. Subdivisions are spreading. Development is constant. And yet, outside city limits, there's still no county-level zoning. Of course, this doesn't mean no rules exist. Subdivisions have their own regulations. Deed restrictions are common. HOAs are everywhere. And if you're building near a city that's actively annexing land, you may find yourself inside city limits and under city zoning faster than you expected. But for now, in the unincorporated parts of Williamson County, land use is unregulated by the county itself. You're free to build, free to use your land as you see fit, and free to not ask permission from a planning board that doesn't exist. It's the Texas model, and it works until it doesn't. Finally, we end in Oklahoma, in a county so overlooked that its lack of zoning was documented not by a county website, but by a federal decision letter describing an unincorporated site. Pawnee County, Oklahoma, appears in a Bureau of Indian Affairs document that describes a proposed project on unincorporated land. The document states clearly, Pawnee County has no general land use plan, no planning guidance, and no zoning. This is the kind of county that exists quietly. It's not advertising its lack of zoning. It's not marketing itself as a freedom destination. It's just a place where zoning was never adopted, and nobody felt the need to change that. Pawnee County is rural, quiet, the kind of Oklahoma landscape where oil pumps nod in the distance and the sky takes up more space than the buildings. Life here follows older rules about water rights, septic systems, access roads, and not bothering your neighbors. Zoning isn't part of the equation because it was never introduced. Of course, the usual disclaimers apply. Just because there's no zoning doesn't mean there are no rules. Septic regulations exist. Well, permits are required. If you're subdividing land, there are processes. And if your land has deed restrictions, those still apply regardless of county zoning. But for someone who wants to buy land and build without navigating a zoning ordinance, Pawnee County is functionally open. It's a forgotten pocket of Oklahoma where the planning map never reached, and the county government never felt compelled to create one. So there you have it. 9 counties. 9 different reasons why zoning never took hold. Some never adopted it. Some adopted it only inside city limits. Some simply decided the concept didn't fit their geography or culture. These places are exceptions, rare pockets in a country where zoning has become the default assumption. Most counties have zoning, most have planning boards, most have maps that divide land into categories and restrict use accordingly. But these 9 counties prove the exceptions still exist. Of course, none of this means these counties are lawless. Zoning is just one type of regulation. Septic rules still apply. Floodplain regulations still exist. Subdivision processes still matter. And if your land has deed restrictions or sits inside an HOA, those rules override everything else regardless of what the county does or doesn't regulate. So if you're considering land in one of these counties, the process is the same as it always should be. Verify everything. Call the county. Check with the local health department. Review the deed. Talk to neighbors. Hire a surveyor if the boundaries are unclear. And never assume no zoning means no rules. But for people who value flexibility, who want to build on their own terms, who are tired of navigating planning boards and zoning maps and setback requirements that feel arbitrary, these counties offer something increasingly rare: space to build a life without asking permission from a system that wasn't designed for you anyway. These places are getting rarer. Development pressure, population growth, and the slow creep of regulation mean counties that never had zoning are starting to consider it. Towns that were unincorporated are incorporating, and the gaps in the system, the quiet pockets where freedom survived simply because nobody bothered to regulate it, are slowly closing. So if you've been looking for land where the zoning map doesn't exist, where the planning board is theoretical, where you can build without navigating a bureaucratic maze, these 9 counties are worth exploring. They're not perfect, they're not convenient, and they're definitely not for everyone, but they're real, and they're still out there, for now.